I'm going to tell you what they're talking about. So they're upset because they said my craft isn't good enough for 30 people to latch onto, which is what I said in the beginning. So now they're just upset. So it seems like they thought I was going to find people. Like they said, I found relatives. I wasn't finding any relatives, which goes to show that if they had been honest about what this was about, they wouldn't have lied. So they said, "Oh, I'm going to show you guys things from the past to prove the truth." I've already done that. That was also my idea. So nobody invests all of this time and energy to give me back my own ideas. They invested it to take my ideas. So they said they thought I would come up with lies about ideas that they've stolen. But didn't they say they were always watching me for all these decades? Why would they spend years and years and years and years and years and years and years doing this just to feed me back my own ideas? The other thing they wanted to talk about was they said they didn't know I used the phrase gang stalking and targeting individual back in 2019, and it mattered because they thought I just started using it. But they also said that they didn't know that I even had tweets from 2020. So meaning that I had been tweeting and doing things for years before they came on board, which is part of what I'm saying. This seems like what they did was they said they started bringing in more people and more people and more people. Unlike my YouTube videos, as you guys can tell, if 30 people were trying to latch onto one channel, I wouldn't have 440 something subscribers. Even if each person brought in, I don't know, 100 people. Like if I brought in 440 and they just brought in 100 subscribers each, I would have more subscribers. I mean, it really does feel like they're saying out loud the truth, but they can't understand it. 30 people latching on to me would not bring 440 subscribers. I would have had more subscribers. I would have had more views. So they said, "Oh, they were surprised my last YouTube channel I ended in 2018, and I had over 200 and something thousand views on 40 something videos. So I had so many more views compared to the amount of work that I did. So 40 something videos translated to 200 and something thousand views. And now I got over 2,000 videos and I have less than 200,000 views. You see what I'm saying? Like when you, and I'm going like this, when you try to explain to people that their latching on brought it down, it didn't raise it up. Part of what that feels like, and I talk a lot about what they're thinking and their emotional state. I want to talk about my emotional state. Part of what that feels like is that they do bring people down, and the more they are around me, the further down I get, and I become the very thing that I wasn't before. You don't latch on to something failing. I've never heard of people latching onto something failing. No, they were latching onto something that was rising and they brought it down. And how that feels for me is no matter how much I try to climb up and out, I'm still in the barrel. I can't get out of the barrel. So it feels for me, they say frustrating. It's beyond frustrating. It's something deeper. It's like when you try so hard to lift yourself up and they just keep pulling you down, pulling you down, pulling. It feels like my head is below water. And no matter how much I try to get out of this water, there I am. The other thing is they said, "Oh, there's no such thing as a third cousin." Why would I even look for any cousin? I wouldn't be looking for any of these people. This is part of what I'm saying. They live in a fantasy world. So they said they were talking to me throughout my life. Just because you're talking to me doesn't mean I A hear you, B have to listen to you. So they said many years ago, they said in 20 no 1994, well, going back 30 years now, they were talking to me and they thought I heard them. Part of what I'm saying is if they have the ability to do this, there's something wrong. Because if they keep pulling me below, and every time I'm trying to get out of this hole that they put me in, they just keep pushing me in further into the hole, then nobody seems to care then. The other big point I want to make about what they're talking about is if they're not related to me directly, a third cousin is a direct relative, someone from elementary school is a direct relative, then that's a bigger issue. Why aren't they hanging on to their direct relatives. What's going wrong in their lives that they would find me? And that's part of what I think. I've said this for a long, long time in so many videos, that when these types of people pull other people down, at some point there's nobody else to pull them up. So it's like you've pulled everyone down. Who's there to pull you up? The other part is they talk about religion. I said I don't want to exploit religion, and they get upset because they don't understand the difference between feeling something and exploiting something. I don't think they understand what exploitation really means. I don't think they understand the difference between how they live their lives in exploiting people and normal lives. I don't think they've ever had a normal life. And at some point, when you reach a certain age, you can't blame it on something that happened to you when you were a child, because you haven't been a child for so long. They couldn't understand what I meant by criminals versus victims. You can be a victim of something and not turn into a criminal. And if you have to be a criminal to explain why you're a victim, then you're a criminal. And every time I speak, they don't understand, but then after someone explains it to them, they get it. Then they shouldn't be listening to me. But part of what I'm saying to them is that at some point in our lives, we make decisions. You can't keep blaming all your decisions on something. It's your decision at some point. And they said that they thought latching onto this, the sickness, gang stalking, victim, race, was going to explain their criminal behavior. That's not true. And I think what that does is, again, brings victims' rights down. They don't seem to understand, if you're exploiting this to explain a crime, you're bringing victims down. And this is the whole theme of their lives. Like, I think one time I said to somebody that people like sometimes in life you kind of go through life and you have like a song in your head, or you have a theme, or you think of yourself as a business. If you're in the business of bringing people down to exploit your life situation, or their life, you exploit their life situation to explain your life situation, or you use someone else to gain an excuse for how you're living your life, then you're doing that's your theme. That becomes who you are. And when that becomes who you are, you cannot then get upset with people for labeling you that. If they said I was always the type of person to reach out and help someone, not when I'm sinking. Because what do you do when you reach out to help someone when you're sinking? You bring that person down. And at some point you got to say, wait a minute, hold everything. I'm sinking. I got to pull myself out of this hole. And once I pull myself out of this hole, then I'll feel better about myself. And part of showing you the journey of doing this is showing you how hard it's been. If every time I do a video, they cut me off, they yell in the background, they criticize, then they are the reason I'm sinking. And they can't explain that to themselves. So what they do is explain it to me like, well, 30 people couldn't really latch onto this. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying. The other thing is that they're talking more about race. Again, they exploit race to feel better about their situation. And that's part of the problem with this whole process. If you have to exploit religion, then you have to exploit race, then you have to exploit this or that or that or this, then you're not addressing the root of the problem. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about, there was something else. Let me pause this and think about what they said. Oh, that was the other thing. They said that when I was a kid, they thought that they were seeing in the apartment not where I lived, but where a relative of mine lived. And then they said they couldn't be able to see because there were blinds, just like I have blinds here, which is part of what caught them on their lie. They said, well, it's impossible to see through these blinds. Part of this is that they run something either upstairs or downstairs in order to see, which is part of what I'm saying, that all they're doing is coming up with excuses. So they're upset that I talk freely about my life, and I've done this with people on my job, with friends, and with my mom, and with relatives. Like I was never like hiding my life, but I think they wanted me to hide my life because then they'll write another book. When in the book, it's called the Northbury Papers, I as my character, someone calls me Shammy and says, "What, you don't like boys?" At the same time, when I was dating someone, the book was published in 1998. I started dating my boyfriend in 1997. I also dated more than one guy in college. So the idea that, on the one hand, the true life story is that I was dating. Then they said, well, I wasn't really dating. All these guys are like actors that they got to pretend to be my boyfriend, and that they were pretend friends. Well, in a way, that's really not an insult to me, is it? It's an insult to the people that they said are these fake, phony people. And I'm having a hard time explaining to them through my videos that once you accuse everyone as being fake and phony, as you folks are, then you all have an issue, don't you? And the issue really isn't me. It's why you guys feel the need to be fake and phony and then say you think I'm fake and phony. Um, Again, going back to the book, because in some ways the book really is, they said I have to prove something. Well, they should read the book. Someone put the book online, like the whole entire book, which is why when they first said the book out loud, I was able to just do an internet search and it came up. I always internet search myself, and that's why I proved in a text message from the elementary school mate that even when she searched me, the book never came up. All of a sudden in 2019, this book comes up. But the book really is the best proof of the life I lived. It said I was middle class. I don't consider myself middle class. I consider myself like lower middle class. But it proves that I wasn't, I wasn't someone who couldn't afford anything. But at the same time, it's in the book. It described me as someone who loved being black, meaning somebody who, they said in the book something along the lines of my blackness, meaning I was never ashamed of being black or pretended not to be black. I mean, that's ridiculous, but it's in the book. So that's proof again. It depicts me as someone who wasn't unattractive, which again, the other thing that was in the book that I don't have to prove, what was it? Oh, that I went to these predominantly white schools, which now they say weren't predominantly white. Again, we're going back and forth on things that if I'm not the person proving it and someone else wrote a book about it, it's got to be true. The other part about that is, what was the other thing that I wanted to say? I'll pause this and think of it. So the other thing is that I clearly didn't give permission or tell these stories to be put into a book. So maybe they did if they're the ones watching me all the time. But part of that story isn't making a lot of sense either. Because if someone put these things in a book and nobody researched it, I have an unusual name. It's not like, oh, this name is just a common name. And I've shown you through various thumbnails, my name wasn't hidden. My name was known on campus. And to to make it seem like I was this type of person who was always being part of some sort of military program, and then there's a book, and then I'm known on campus, and then I'm in a brochure, and then I'm working in places where the public sees me. It just seems so weird. And I think there's a part of this is like, this is so weird that I couldn't make this up. So what else do I have to prove? At what point do they realize that there's something wrong? If someone else has proven this for me, there's nothing else for me to prove. The other part about that, and I think they said it, I can't hear clearly, something about this was all about the money. It sure was, which is part of what I've been saying from the beginning. I'm going to start showing you guys. I said in a previous video that I'll try to refer back to the older videos. I'll start doing that a little bit more, because they said they thought I would want to erase all the ugly images of myself from the internet, or things I've said in a video that I would be ashamed of. No, I really do think that this journey had to happen this way. And if they were talking to me and I wasn't listening to them, or I couldn't hear them, or I don't remember them talking to me, then that means they weren't in any way a part of my life. They said they thought I would give them credit for being horrible, just horrible people who thought this was a good idea because they wanted money. And my only other question, I'm going to pause this for one moment. And my only other question to them is, at what point is enough enough? And that's what's going to be the title of this video. Thank you for watching.